All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have a small 4 game slate here for you guys. Enough injury news though to to dive into it. What are your initial thoughts for the slate?
Yeah, man. For a four gamer, definitely a ton of moving parts. News is starting to break as we kind of talk through things. So, ever changing. It is late in the season, but most of these games actually matter, which is a good thing. I know Dallas really wants this one against Sacramento. Obviously, there's some seeding implications on the line for most of these teams. So, for a 4 game slate, I actually like it a lot.
You got the Lakers trying to make the playoffs here, and we can kind of start with them. Going to be harder to do with LeBron out tonight. A lot of the field's going to begin to Russell, Reeves, Anthony Davis. Is it kind of as simple as that for them?
I mean, I think in low risk contests, small field stuff, yes, those three are the guys you're certainly targeting. I mean, Russell's assist rate has gone way up in these games with LeBron off the floor. I really do like him here. Davis obviously looks excellent. It's just there are actually some pretty good pivots on the slate in terms of payups. We have Luca, who
Mhm.
we'll talk about later, SGA, Giannis in the same game. So Davis is kind of the no-brainer with LeBron out. I think he makes a lot of sense, but there are other ways to go, knowing he's going to be super popular. My favorite play here is probably Russell. I really like to play guards against Milwaukee. Obviously, Russell's had a really good, I don't know, a couple months, honestly. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, with the increased assists and usage he's going to see here with LeBron out, I mean, he just checks a lot of boxes for me. Reeves looks good as well. Probably not as much upside as Russell, but um, probably the only other guy you could fully trust because there's a lot of other
Yeah.
guys here we're going to probably have to talk about with this being a 4 game slate. But that big three, quote unquote, who we just mentioned, definitely the main focal points this evening.
Yeah. So one of my thoughts for the Lakers tonight is that if I'm not getting to Russell, I think I would be playing Spencer Dinwiddie if that makes sense. Whereas like if I'm not getting to Reeves, I don't think I want to do that. I don't know. Does that make sense to you? Where like I'd be playing AD, Reeves, and Dinwiddie if I'm not playing Russell, or I'd just play AD, Russell, and Reeves. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be interested to see the starting lineup. I think we probably see Prince get the start. They
Yeah.
did go with Dinwiddie, I think, last game, but
Hmm.
Russell was out for that one, so I don't know that we're gonna see him in the starting lineup. I will say Dinwiddie's been heavily involved on their defense, like in terms of game planning, so he'll probably get minutes to close the half in the game if it's close against Lillard, where he's kind of, I don't know, trying to slow him down as
Yeah.
best as he can. So I don't mind that as a pivot. I'm just wondering on a 4 game slate, like if you need to necessarily set that rule, just because there's some good value, but not a ton of great value. So like
Yeah.
if you're playing Spence, like there is a scenario where both he and Russell end up optimal.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense there. I'm trying to look. So we just got some Miami news. Let's just go ahead and refresh the data here. So the only news that we've gotten so far is that Kevin Love and Jimmy Butler are out. So that's going to be updating here shortly. The news that we really need, I think, is whether or not Hawkes is going to be active, and then whether or not Caleb Martin's going to be active. Because right now, as it sits, I mean, Bam seems like a stud play to me. He's probably my favorite play. He's only 7% owned. That would have happened regardless. I think if Butler was active or inactive, I'm curious to see what his ownership jumps to. Hawkes would probably be one of my favorite plays if he's active. But like, it's tough to prepare. I guess where are you at with this team tonight?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of tricky. I do like Bam here, obviously at his price. It's not the best matchup against Golden State though in that front court. I think Kerry Rozier is someone we're going to see kind of jump to the front of the model,
Mhm.
regardless of which of these other guys are out. I mean, with no Butler, they're also still without Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, so they really need guys to take shots. Rozier's been consistent. His price is up a little bit, but probably not as much as it should be.
Mhm.
He's been a high floor play, but I think here with Butler out, he probably has a higher ceiling than usual. So he's someone I'm going to be super interested in. Patty Mills probably gets the start again. I know not the most exciting play, but on a 4 game slate
Mhm.
where we're lacking value, he has been relied on to be a spacer lately with Hero out of the lineup again. Another guy who's probably going to see a little bit more usage with no Butler there. And I'm probably getting to Jovic as well. I was expecting Kevin Love to be back tonight, but we're going to see Jovic slide in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Especially on FanDuel, there's like a lot of power forwards in that 4 to 5K range. We have Jovic, we have Rui, we have Harrison Barnes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I definitely think Jovic is one you want to kind of mix into that group, depending on where his ownership lands. But all the starters are going to look good here. Excuse me. And then depending on who else is out, like if one of Martin or Hawkins are out, the other is going to be very appealing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get the Highsmith.
Yeah.
I know he's cheap. He's coming off a great game, but in terms of fantasy production, just not someone you can rely on. I will say Delon Wright is kind of a name that has been kind of passed around today as someone who could potentially get extended runs. Spolstra had an interview where he was just glowing and glowingly praising Delon Wright, mostly for his defense, though, which doesn't always help us for DFS.
Yeah.
But I think he's a pivot off of Mills if Mills becomes popular. I definitely prefer Mills as things stand, though. But yeah, and coming into today, it seemed like the Lakers would really be the main point of value. But what we're finding is that big three is what we like the best. They're all kind of priced where they should be. So we're probably going to have to squeeze some value out of this Miami team.
Yeah, and this might just be a situation where, at the end of the video, we can refresh and just see where the projected minutes are at. I'm looking
Yeah.
at some other spots right now. It hasn't been put into, I think, like the whole data point that a lot of
Right.
the industry
Yeah,
uses.
Butler's still in there. So
Yeah. So, but we'll see, because I think that can be a big deciding factor to your point of, are we getting to maybe DeLon Wright if Patty Mills becomes more chalk, stuff like that. Highsmith, maybe if he actually is projected to start, maybe that's someone we can, just stuff like that. But as
yeah.
it's right now, it's tough to get into. And then the other spot here, the Pelicans. So this is another one of my favorite spots on the night. Brandon Ingram's going to be out. Zion at 9K, not as high owned as maybe I would have thought. And really my favorite play in the slate, and he's not as high owned as I would have thought as well. It's CJ McCollum. Like, I feel like he should be at least 8K with Brandon Ingram out. His per 36 production with him off the court's like 40 fantasy points. And I thought he would be chalk. Like, I really did. But I guess with the Lakers value, it makes sense. But I like, everyone's high owned for the Pelicans. It seems like no one's taking a stand on who the best play is for the Pelicans. They just want exposure. Do you have any like conviction here? Because I'm pretty high on like McCollum and Zion for that matter. But like, are you there with that, or are you looking at someone else?
I mean, I like CJ. I like Zion. I think my biggest stand here for the Pels is just to not play Jovel. I'm kind of shocked that he's as popular as he is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, just he hasn't been good. It's rare we see him get over 20 minutes. Not a good spot for him here against OKC, who likes to kind of play in transition. So yeah, really don't like Jovel. I'm playing a decent number of lineups tonight, at least by my own standards, probably over 20. And I may just not play Jovel in any of them. So super aggressive stand there. But I'm with you, man. I do like CJ. The ownership issue, like you said, is because Reeves and D'Lo are priced about the same. But
Hmm.
he makes plenty of sense as a pivot. He's definitely flashed upside with Ingram out of the lineup. Zion, the issue is just that most are paying up to AD. That's just keeping his ownership down. But these are two guys that I think in tournaments you're going to want to get exposure to, especially if they're not more popular as we get closer to log. So those two look excellent, as they always do with Ingram out. You
Yeah.
could mix in Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. Um, they've both been playing pretty good basketball. A guy I'm very interested in is Jose Alvarado off the
All
bench.
right. All right. I was hoping that,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, and it's not only because Ingram's out, but Dyson Daniels is out as well. So
Mhm.
he's kind of locked in there as the backup point guard. He could run alongside CJ McCollum as well. They're going to want him to play some defense on SGA at times, I imagine as well, whenever Herb Jones isn't on the floor. So yeah, pretty good spot for Alvarado. Again, I think we're getting a little bit more value now with Miami. Like Patty Mills does become
Yeah.
interesting, but before we
That's,
had that news, I was super heavy on Alvarado, and I imagine I'd probably stay pretty heavy on him, even with Mills getting more appealing.
I was going to ask you. So like, who, like Alvarado or Patty Mills? Like, which one would you prefer tonight? They're both about the same price.
Yeah, I lean Alvarado. I just think he
Yeah.
does more, and I do like the matchup for him. I think he's going to be relied on here. I mean, Mills could get hot. But at the same time, I mean, if one of these other guys gets hot off the bench, or Delon Wright's playing really good defense on Curry or something like that, there's plenty of scenarios where he loses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'll have a lot of both. They're two of my preferred value plays overall on the slate, but I do prefer Alvarado at the two, at least as things stand.
And then just jumping into some other injury stuff, just real quick, just to highlight it. I don't think it's going to change too much, but Pat Beverly is ruled out, and so we really haven't seen the Bucks lineup with Chris Middleton on the court and Pat Beverly off the court thus far. I would imagine that just gives maybe Beasley a little bit more run, maybe Bobby Portis a little bit more run. Um, I don't. I mean, I guess we can talk about that real quick. Like, do you have? I know I'm more of the Bucks fan there. Like, to me, it's probably more Bobby Portis, but maybe Jay Crowder gets a little bit more work as well. Do you have like a strong take on that?
Not a strong take. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. They'd probably give Portis a little bit of extra run. I don't know. They don't have
It's
many true point guards on that bench.
yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I was already getting to a little bit of Dame. I do like Middleton's price, especially over on DK. Giannis probably underowned for where he should be, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's not like Pat Bev being out is really opening anything up significant.
Yeah. Honestly, like to your point, like maybe it just gives Middleton the ball a little bit more tonight. Not
Yeah.
too much more. It's not like Pat Beverly's a high usage rate player, but maybe he just gets the ball in his hands a little bit more. And maybe honestly, that's a thought I didn't have. Maybe Chris Middleton just becomes a little bit more appealing today. He's already someone that I liked in GPPs, like
Yeah.
16% owned coming off of three pretty good games and projected to get 30 minutes. Like I was already interested in, but that I'm probably trying to find a reason to play him, but I think I did.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do like Middleton here. Definitely feels a little bit too cheap.
And then the only other spot that we were waiting on, which I think it could somewhat be significant news, um, we got Jackson Davis currently a game time decision. We will get this news prior to lineup lock as well. But yeah, he just seems to be a true game time decision. If he sits, we'd obviously be looking at Green to step up a little bit more, Looney to maybe get some run, and then Dario Saric could get some minutes as well. But I mean, do you see anything there if he sits? Because it's a 4 game slate. We kind of need to break down something kind of nuanced like this.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, if he's in, I don't mind him. If he's out, I already do kind of like Draymond. I'd probably just trust him a little bit more. I'd probably secure some minutes for Kaminga here as well. We did see Kaminga's minutes come down a bit as they kind of ramp up Wiggins. So just means there's probably more to go around for the guys they already have in the rotation. I do think Looney would work his way in if Jackson Davis is out, but probably not enough for me to actually want to play him. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anything, it's probably just more Draymond, maybe a little bit more Kaminga. I will say too here though for Golden State, Miami's been running a lot of zone. I know the public perception is that they're this great defensive team, but spot up 3 point shooters have had big games against them recently. So the piece I'm actually interested here is going to be Clay more than anything. Maybe it burns me. I know he's coming off the bench, but yeah, this is the type of matchup he should do well in, especially as they kind of clog up the middle here. So I like Clay. I'm definitely going to get some exposure, maybe some pods. Curry under owned compared to some of the other guards, but really,
Mhm.
even with TJD out, I'm more interested in the backcourt than the front court
I dude, that's actually a good point. Like with both Curry and Clay, like they're already shooting a bunch of three balls anyways. Like, and
here.
they're gonna come in lower on than they probably should be, regardless, given the matchup. Like 3% for Curry at a very cheap price tag. Like, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. And then Clay as well. Like, it doesn't take much for them to get there with how many three balls they're shooting. So that does
Yeah,
make a
right.
decent amount of sense. Let's jump into a couple of questions here. Well, we just got a couple, really just one. So, who are your top three biggest stands tonight? I kind of mentioned mine. I think I'm just going to be more overweight on the field than CJ McCollum. Probably get into more Middleton now. Um, I mean, that's sort of it. I like Reeves a little bit more than Russell, but that's not a huge stand. That's more tight. What about you?
I mean, my first one was I'm not playing Joe Val at all. That's a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
aggressive stand for me. Um, I'm going to be way over on Clay, I imagine. I don't know how popular he's going to be here.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I do want to kind of split up what I'm paying up for. Like obviously AD on paper is the play we want to get to. I know Lucas listed as questionable, but Dallas really needs this game for seeding implications. I think he's going to go here. This is the
Hmm.
lowest we've projected Lucas ownership in a long time, and it's only a 4 game slate. I do imagine he comes in higher owned than we're projecting him around 7%, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get over on Luca. Probably get over on Giannis as well. Sabonis, good spot here against Dallas. All these guys are a little bit lower owned than they should be, with the exception of Anthony Davis. Not saying I don't want Anthony Davis, I definitely do, but I'm gonna flatten the exposures
Yeah,
there a little bit, and then, like I said, no Joval, and probably get over on Clay.
yeah. I think I don't know. I like AD a lot, but that game could
I
blow
mean,
out. So
yeah, I'm not so worried about the blowout as much as like all these games should be
the
competitive,
matchups.
and like even if AD gets 60 to 70, like Luca, Giannis, or Sabonis could outscore him. Like that potential is
Mhm.
there.
I want to refresh the data here to answer Max's question here. Favorite values. So we kind of mentioned a couple of them. Like it really considers what you consider a value. Like we mentioned Alvarado as a decent low owned play or low price play. Patty Mills as a low price play. I'll just set the slider to what 4.5 is that or like 5K? I guess I don't.
Yeah,
Uh,
either way, I think. I mean, on a 4 game slate, maybe 5K.
yeah. So the best values on paper, JVal, which kind of already said don't really like him. Keon Ellis is okay, 10%. I don't know. I think the play would be Jaquez if he's active, but we got to wait and see on that. You got Patty Mills there. It's really just a toss up on paper. I kind of don't mind Beasley. It's just, I feel like you could talk yourself into a bunch of plays, but none of them are like standout plays.
Yeah, the data hasn't quite caught up yet. I do think we're going to see
Yeah.
Mills kind of shoot up. But yeah, Alvarado is one of my favorites right now for sure. Um, in not playing a ton of Joval, I am going to get to some Larry Nance. I do like Najee Marshall over on DK as well. Like those three cheap Pels make a lot of sense to me over
Yeah.
there. On FanDuel, they're all a bit more expensive. You mentioned Hawkes. If he's in, he's great. If he's out and Caleb Martin's in, I want to get to some Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
I also like Jovic, who's probably going to start here with no Kevin Love. Probably sees increased usage with Butler out. Um, but yeah, I mean that's where I'm at for now. I think that's a decent group.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. So with that, let's go ahead and jump. Oh, we got a couple more. We'll get into that. So Wiggins or Marshall.
It's tricky. Let's see here. I wonder where the date is at. But yeah, Wiggins,
Yeah.
he hasn't been getting over 25 minutes. Marshall doesn't usually either. I don't know. I actually slightly prefer Marshall, I think, just because we could kind of hold out for a little bit more news, and I think
Yeah.
he's a little bit cheaper as well, but it's close.
Yeah. Good call on Malachi Flynn. I don't know if that's sarcastic or not.
No, it's
Did he
not. He
have a
went
good
off.
game?
Yeah, he
Okay.
went off.
I couldn't remember. Nice. Who wasn't there someone that was chalked there that didn't go off?
Lonnie Walker.
He
Or
did decent though, didn't he?
no, no. I think he was in single digits.
Oh,
He
huh.
played like 3 minutes in the first half, barely
I
played the
know.
second half.
I
But
know Metu
we did
was
say that yeah, Metu ended up coming off the bench, but we did say
yep.
end of the video, keep an eye on lineups because like if Lonnie wasn't starting, he was going to be scary. If Metu didn't start, he was going to be scary. Metu still got there, Lonnie did
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We got a hot take here.
okay.
So Kyrie the best play once Luke is ruled out. That's not a hot take. That's not.
I mean, yeah, I mean the hot take might just be that you think Luke is going to be ruled out. I know usually when a guy gets added to the injury report during the day, it's a bad sign. But like I said, they need this game bad for standings. I'd have to pull up the standings to give the exact details, but they've already lost 2 games to the Kings. Both of those games took place in Dallas. Like they're kind of screwed on this tiebreaker unless they win these next 2 against the Kings. They're fighting for play-in seeding, and yeah, like I know they have this game circled. And listening to Jason Kidd talk about it, so I don't know if he's super sick, he's out. I think if he's even like 80%, he's going to play. Um,
Mhm.
we do have to wait and see. But yeah, obviously, if he's out, get to as much Kyrie as you can. The issue, excuse me, that is an island game, so you're gonna have to kind of have a 2-for-2 setup to pivot if you are on Luca. Obviously, you go down to Kyrie and probably upgrade something else. Maybe Gafford to Sabonis, or I don't know,
Yeah.
Washington to Fox. I don't know. These are hypotheticals. I'd have to see how the math works out. But yeah, if
Yep.
Kyrie's in and Luke is out, definitely love Kyrie here.
So we got a comment about Hawkes. Yeah, Hawkes has been out for quite some time. This is like the tail end of it, and they may. I mean, maybe they just try to get him active tonight because they need him with Butler being
Maybe.
out.
He's still on the
Um,
injury report with ankle
yeah,
discomfort, but no word yet. We did just get word that Jackson Davis is out for Golden State.
he is out.
Yep.
So that's just Draymond Green. I'm curious to see what that does for once this updates. If we are going to get Sarge getting more minutes or Kevon Looney getting more minutes, and maybe I don't know, like will one of those start or will it just be Green and Kaminga? I would imagine be Green and Kaminga.
Yeah, yeah. Jackson Davis hasn't been starting every day. I don't think he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be Kaminga and Green. And like I said, I like Kaminga and Green a little bit more now. I don't know, man. Even if they show up in the model, I'm not all that interested in Looney or Sarge.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, yeah.
I mean, if they
They
get, what
could
are their
get there,
prices?
but
Let's see.
they're both men on DK.
Okay. So I was gonna say if they get like 15 minutes, maybe 12, I could see maybe thinking about them. But just one of them, obviously, it wouldn't be pretty. But it's a 4 game slate is the point there. Like
Yeah,
they could
yeah. On a 4 gamer, it's worth talking about. I don't know.
We'll default to the data there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
let's go ahead and get into the guards. We kind of already broke down everything here, but we'll do the position by position breakdown. So, in simple, it's just sorted by chalk. So it does seem people are going to go Russell, Reeves. Then you got Terry Rozier there. It's like a lot of people want to go Russell. A lot of people want to go Reeves. Rozier makes sense. Fox is a little bit higher price. People are starting to get to Patty Mills. Alvarado is another play. And then McCollum, still a little bit too cheap in my eyes, or low owned in my eyes. DeLon Wright's a decent value play that people are trying to force in there. Murphy, Monk. I mean, we have some chalk here at the guards. We kind of mentioned Russell, Reeves, easy plays. I like McCollum. Where are you at?
I mean, Rozier kind of joins that group for me now with Reeves and Russell. Definitely someone I want to get exposure to. A little bit too cheap for his upside with Jimmy out. We talked about Mills and Alvarado. Those are your two punts on both sides. I like them a lot. Some people will go to Delon Wright, but he's going to be playing defense on Curry whenever he's on the floor. Doesn't really open up much for him on the offensive end if he's really locked in. You could get there if you're playing a ton of lineups. I'm not all that interested. I mean, as far as like a low owned plays go, I already talked about how much I like Clay. Luca's projecting around 10%. Like, I'd be shocked if he wasn't 20 to 30 if he's in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, if he were truly 10%, I definitely want to get over the field on that. Um, Dame looks fine here. Again, I mean, a lot of the payups aren't drawing ownership because we have such a strong mid range. Don't love SGA at his price. But yeah, Fox, Lillard, Luca, even Kyrie, if Luca's in, I think they all make some sense. And Curry, too, here. We talked about how Clay's probably going to get some open threes. Who's to say Curry doesn't as well? So if you're looking to pay up, you're already getting different. But I do think the chalk makes sense for the most part. And yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you on the CJ call. I mean, he's definitely a solid play here.
What are your thoughts on Fox on FanDuel, where he's significantly higher price? Is that, and he's still about the same ownership percentage? Is that a spot where maybe he's a little bit too high owned on a 4 game slate, or like do you think he's fine?
I think he's good here. I mean, he's had awesome games against Dallas. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't love the price, not gonna lie, but as
Yeah.
more of this value opens up in Miami, I do think he's gonna be a little bit easier to get to. If you're worried about Luca getting ruled out, everyone's gonna go to Kyrie. I would go to Kyrie, but maybe you also have Fox in your build to give you a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
Um, that's gonna make it tough, but you can put Kyrie at shooting guard. Maybe you go down to Monk and Fox becomes Luca or something like that. I'd have to see how the math works out, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to play Fox here if I can find the salary for him.
All right, let's go ahead and jump on in back into some questions here. So we got Portis or Green, and I think that is a pretty fascinating question. Um, like Portis has a higher ceiling, right? But like Green is probably safer. I feel like it's a simple take like that.
Yeah, if I had to pick, it's probably Green. Portis does have more upside, but I mean, with TJD out, this is a really, I mean, I don't want to
Yeah,
say it's really good against Bam, but it's a pretty good spot for Dre.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would probably favor Green, but like,
Yeah, like cash
good,
games go Green or
yeah.
low risk.
Let's see here, and then this is actually kind of an interesting question. So, does Jackson Davis make you like Bam more or less? I would say just as much. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the same. Like he's gonna stay the same. Yeah,
yeah.
seems
I,
safe.
there's only a handful of matchups that matter in terms of player versus player in the NBA. Jackson Davis isn't really a needle mover for me. Bam, obviously seeing extra usage with Butler out, already a great play. Jackson Davis being out. I mean, Looney's actually a good defender. Like, I don't think it changes anything. So I like Bam here just the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was like wondering if like Looney could get more run tonight, just going against Bam. But we'll see. We'll see if that updates. This is more of a hot take here, um, from Power. So uh, Derek Lively could be good once Gafford fouls out.
I
That's
mean,
interesting.
yeah, Gafford's usually not bad about getting into foul trouble. We did see it against Jokic, I think, earlier this week or last week. Gafford's one of my favorite center plays on the slate, but if he were to be popular, Lively is a logical pivot. I don't mind it. I do think they might get Maxi Kleber back tonight, who's been out for a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, no, he played last game, so don't
Yeah.
ignore the Kleber thing. Yeah, he's fine as a pivot. It's just kind of boom or bust. really. Gafford, I really, really do like. And Sabonis, as good as he is, I mean, it's not like he's some massive physical presence putting
Right.
opposing centers into
No.
foul trouble every night. Like, he's good because he kind of stretches things out, excuse me. And he's kind of tough to chase around more than anything. So I don't know. It's a possibility. It is a hot take, but wouldn't shock me if it worked out. But I
uh,
do love Gafford here. And yeah, Lively's been one of the better backup centers. So it's not crazy to get there.
and let's actually just pivot into centers since we mentioned two of them. So Gafford is the best projected value on DraftKings on FanDuel as well. So yeah, he does seem to be probably underowned with that consideration, but at the same time, how much can we trust him? It's I would say yeah, he might be a little bit underowned, like maybe 15-ish% on DraftKings, maybe 10 on FanDuel. Like I don't know. Are you getting to him more than that?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm playing no Joval, and a
Yeah.
lot of that's just going to turn into Gafford. I know there's a pricing discrepancy between the
Yeah.
two, but yeah, like the biggest way I'm doing that is to get to some of these other centers, and I don't know. Lopez is okay. I don't love getting to him. I do like Draymond more than I did earlier, but it's tough for me to pay all the way up. So I'm going to land on a ton of Gafford tonight and a lot of Bam as well. The more I think about it, so yeah, center's interesting. If for such a
It
big
is.
slate, like if you're playing AD at center, that's kind of the no-brainer. But
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of other ways to go. It's just they're all kind of expensive. There we go. Sorry, Mike.
For a
Oh,
second.
you're good.
All right, there we go. Yeah, I would say AD's like my preferred pay up. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
started my lineups trying to get to AD or Bam, and then I probably need to get more of Gafford in all honesty. But I guess I'm more paying up for center tonight than I am going paying down. We'll see which one works. Obviously, Gafford's been going off recently. If he puts another 40 up and AD only gives 50, that's not going to help. Same thing with Bam. Like if he only does 45 and Gafford's still going off, that's not going to be a good spot. It's going to be wrong. And
Right.
then to your point, I think Green is a solid safe play there. Again, I don't mind Portis as like a GPP play, but like we're not going crazy with that. None of these low price centers pique your interest though. Like I mean, I don't see why they would, but like Kleber gained 18 minutes. I mean, man,
Yeah.
I mentioned like
Nance is one I do like just because I think he could outplay Joval, but it's not like he's been spiking much of an upside either. So I'm not really rushing to get to him. I think I'm getting different enough just not playing Joval. Like I don't need to go for the double leverage there. What I
yeah.
am interested in is Jackson Hayes. I mean, we've seen certain games with LeBron out, him suddenly play really well. Christian Wood's still out as well here, so
Mhm.
they are going to be thin in the front court against a very big Milwaukee team. Hayes inconsistent. Can you trust him? No. But if I'm looking for a punt at center, I do kind of like Jackson Hayes here. Can't say he's safe, but someone I'll probably mix into my exposures
Mhm. Yeah, we only have him projected for 11.2 minutes, which does kind of feel a little bit too low with LeBron out. To your point, going against Milwaukee, but I mean, if he got 20 minutes, it would certainly pay off his price. But again, 4 game slate, we're trying to find some stuff here. So let's get back into some questions here, and then we'll jump into the forwards. Here we go. So is it
Yeah.
worth playing Luke on a 4 game slate? Pretty much.
I mean, I will say it's tough to fit him if you're going to AD. I do think AD is safer. In cash games, I would just be playing AD as my pay up, not getting to Luca. Um, we're getting more and more value as we get closer to lock, though.
Mhm.
Like some of the Miami pieces are going to look good. We're still waiting on some news there. If you're taking a risk in a large field tournament on some of these plays we're mentioning, like risky plays like Najee Marshall, Jackson Hayes, um, then maybe you could make it work. But yeah, I don't think it's a must here. In the field, like I said, he's lower owned or projected to be lower owned than he has been in a couple
Yeah.
weeks, which is kind of crazy considering it's only a 4 game slate
And he is the best play on the slate again. So I mean,
for raw
it's not as
points. Yeah.
crazy as different slates, but still the best pay up on the slate. Let's see here. So Brooke Lopez, I think Brooke Lopez is what he's kind of been the whole year when he's been popping up on the model as a good value play. It's just like a low owned play that makes sense in a like a leverage spot. Like you're not going out of your way to roster him, but if you're trying to gain some leverage at the center position, it makes sense. We've seen him put up 25 fantasy points consistently lately with a little bit of upside to put up 40. Not exactly a spot where I feel like we need to be chasing him, but he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. You can mix him in. I do think he's a little bit cheap on DK. Um, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I'm in that range, like I am trying to get to Gafford, but Lopez
Yeah.
is definitely a worthy tournament pivot.
Yeah.
Lakers are a big team even without LeBron.
Then let's see here. So we got another Miami question. Let's go ahead and just refresh the data here, seeing if we're getting just kind of what we're seeing with Miami again here. So we know that the ownership's been coming up. Rozier's now chalk, Bam's more chalk. Hawk has 50% owned. Yeah, I think that's correct, but that I don't like that. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't expecting that. Jovic only 18%, which is kind of interesting. Caleb Martin 28%, and then Patty Mills 29%. So interesting. So I don't think we get confirmation on those guys playing or not yet. I'm like shocked if we
no,
haven't.
no, we
That's
haven't. So yeah, if Hawkins is in and he starts, he's the guy. He's the forward you want for Miami. If he's out, it's probably Martin. If Martin's in, if they're both out, they probably start Highsmith. But I still wouldn't be rushing to play Highsmith. I'd rather go to Jovic, who's probably going to start here regardless of which of these guys are in. Jovic hasn't been good, but I do think he has upside here. He's my favorite of that group. Um,
we
yeah,
we
I mean,
have
if
seen
Hawkins is in and he starts, I think you kind of have to go there. That's the issue.
we have seen random forwards and just players in general go off for Miami. So like the best answer would probably be to mix it a little bit, kind of mix them all in a little bit and hope you
Yeah,
get the right one. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, Hawkins is the no-brainer if he's in and he
yeah,
starts.
yeah.
And I think you could go to Jovic regardless. He's probably going to start at the four. It's going to be Martin or Hawkins or Highsmith at the three.
So yeah, this is another good question, kind of tailing off of your take from Golden State earlier, liking Clay as a play. But what are your thoughts about playing Clay and Curry in the same lineup? But also, I want to start with that, and then the actual question is playing Curry, Paul, and Clay in the same lineup together. But I wanted to get your thoughts on Curry and Clay first.
Yeah, I mean, Curry and Clay are fine. Again, Clay coming off the bench, it's not like their usage is always overlapping. So they can both spike an upside in the same game. It is possible. Again, Miami playing this zone that's really opened up 3-point shooting for opposing teams. They've been tough to get into the paint on, but a team like Golden State, they have a lot of guys that can shoot. I don't think it's crazy to play two of them. I don't know that I'd want three. I mean, in a world where Chris Paul has like his best game, it's probably because I don't know Curry isn't playing that well, or
Gets
maybe
injured.
Clay's not. Yeah, but like they are so cheap on DK,
Yeah.
especially like Paul's 5'2", Clay's 5'7", Steph's 8'6". Like there's a world where it works out. Personally, I'd probably limit it to two though. But again, this is a matchup that favors 3-point shooters. I did look into it because I saw this question coming. Paul has been shooting more threes lately. But yeah, I think the matchup favors guys like Steph and Clay more. But again, Paul's price makes him pretty tempting.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I feel like it's more tough to get to, especially given the fact that we both kind of said we like Green tonight as well. Like, I don't know. I would rather play Green than I would Paul. I know it's a different price tag, but like
Yeah,
we don't want to load up too much on Golden State.
yeah, that game does have the lowest total on the board, so you
Mhm.
probably don't want to go overboard there. Miami does play slow. Like as good as of a spot as it is for 3-point shooting, they do slow things down. So there is a bit of kind of things canceling out there. But yeah, I think Clay's just sneaky where he's owned. Steph too. They're all kind of under owned, which is why I like them. But it doesn't mean you need to go all three. Like you'd be so different if you did. But I don't know that you need to get that different tonight.
Then I'm pretty sure we got Unicorn Love just trolling you right now, saying that J Val's going to get 30 minutes and break the slate.
If he does, he does, and I lose. I mean, I've
He
lost
would
on
break the slate.
stupider things this season. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm just shocked he's this popular. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, with Ingram out, you'd think he'd be playing better, but they're capping him at 20 minutes. And again, OKC is a team that likes to run up and down the court, play in transition. That does not favor Joe Val's game at all. Actually, does favor Larry Nance, who's more of a power forward than he is a center. But since his time with the Lakers, I mean, he's been best in transition. So this is a matchup that favors Lance. Not saying I'm getting to a ton of Larry Nance, but I'm not getting to Joe Val here. So
Yeah.
if I die, I die.
Right. Uh, let's go ahead and get into these forwards here. So, forward wise, It's kind of a weird spot. I would say without knowing for sure who's going to be active for Miami, like we should get that. I will say like Jovic, his points, rebounds, and assist line got bumped from 12.5 to 17.5. Like that is pretty significant. So like he could be someone that we might have to end up playing. I just wanted to call that out. But like
Yeah.
if we get Jaquez inactive, I would say I would like Chris Middleton because they're both somewhat ish at a kind of mid-range price tag, if you will. I still think that's kind of my leverage spot on tonight's slate is probably Chris Middleton. After that, I feel and probably Zion. Like I feel like Zion's too low owned on the slate, but everyone else, like the forward spot, really in general, is the spot where you're probably gaining some leverage on the field because no one besides Hawkes is like extreme chalk. Caleb Martin, a little bit chalky right now. Again, we're waiting on that, but like it's kind of a weird spot for forward tonight. I would say just ownership wise and just it,
Yeah.
this could be where we get a little bit unique.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the day, I was gonna say like I'm probably gonna try to get to more Herb Jones and Najee Marshall because Murphy's
Yeah.
gonna be popular, but looks like Murphy's ownership has come way down. So I actually do like Trey Murphy here, sub 7K on both sides. A little bit expensive, but we're getting him under 20% with Ingram out. I mean, he's been playing really good basketball. Um, so yeah, Trey Murphy, that is. I may have said Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you on Middleton, especially on DK. I really like him as a leverage point. We already talked about Clay when we talked about guards. Like those three really interest me where they're owned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Miami's going to be the key to the slate here. Obviously, with Butler out, if Hawkins starts, he's great. If Hawkins is out, you're going to want to get some Caleb Martin. Um, but yeah, I mean, if they're all out, Highsmith's going to be popular. I probably just wouldn't
Mhm.
play much Highsmith. Kind of similar to Joe Val. If he kills me, he kills me. I'll live with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping Hawkes is in and starts. 4,800 on DK is just egregious pricing. Like you're gonna want to get to that.
Yeah.
His big games too. Like he was playing really well with Butler out, but when he was next to Hero at times, we kind of saw his ceiling capped. We have Hero out here as well, so
Yeah.
he's going to take on a ton of usage here. I mean, we have him projected for 34 minutes, so I think they're expecting him to hit the ground running now that he's back. Um, again, dealing with ankle discomfort, no sprain or anything, so he should be good to go. But again, still waiting on that news. The good news is it is the first game on the slate. We will know that lineup before things lock. So just keep an eye
Yeah.
on the Miami situation. They could go a lot of different ways with the starting lineup. I know we're projecting Patty Mills in here. Against another team, I maybe recommend they could go small. Like you could see Delon Wright on the wing. I don't think they'd do
Mm.
that against Golden State necessarily, but yeah, Spo likes to mix things up. So definitely wait and see with the lineup here. But Miami forwards are going to be popular, especially Hawkes if he's in.
PJ Washington's the best value forward on the board per the model right now. And I don't really know what to do with that. I
Yeah,
agree he does have upside to do that for sure. And like he probably shouldn't be that low owned. Like I could see a path where he does just crush. Like he probably is worth a little bit of look. Like let's
yeah.
say I'm doing 10 lineups. Like I could see myself playing him one or two at least to be overweight on the field, which is not saying much at 6% or whatever, but
Yeah, the thing with Washington, he's been shooting terribly. I mean, I don't know, 2 for 6 from three, 0 for 4, 2 from 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 7. Like terrible, terrible. He's not making any
Mhm.
shots. So if they suddenly start going in, I mean, he's going to be great. Um, so yeah, I'm fine mixing him in. I mean, he is cheap enough that he could even hit value if he's not shooting lights out. But the looks are there for him, man. I mean, with
Yeah.
Luka and Kyrie in this backcourt, we've seen everyone else on the floor is getting open looks. It's just a matter of those shots going in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't mind him as an upside play.
All right, so we got a couple of questions here, and then we'll give you guys a first look build here. So Harrison Barnes or Lou Dort? I will say I think I like Barnes a little bit more tonight. Just decent spot, just can pop. I don't know. Dort just doesn't do much for me. What about you?
I think it's Dort on DK and Barnes on FanDuel. I know that's kind of a cop out of an answer, but you're getting Dort for 300 cheaper. Neither guy's a high usage player. Um, I don't know. I guess I lean Barnes. I hate them both, but
Yeah,
yeah, Dort, the extra 300 is enough for me to maybe lean that way on DK. But
the
yeah,
answer is Hawkes when he's active.
yeah, yeah. If you can get the Hawkins if he's in, that's the move.
Another question that we got: Crowder or Connaughton with no Pat Bev. I mean, those are certainly plausible. I just kind of think it's going to be more, just probably getting a little bit more Bobby Portis tonight. We just haven't seen this yet from Milwaukee, where Middleton's active, and then also one Crowder's back, but with Pat Beverly out. We just haven't really seen that thus far. So it's a guessing game. I would imagine it doesn't probably change much. Is the overall consensus? Looking at the projections, that's what we're getting as well. So
Yeah.
let's jump into Glenn's real quick. So yeah, we like the Miami value and New Orleans value for small forward, power forward, more than the Lakers value. Um,
Yeah,
is this just for
it's a good
forwards?
question. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because, but here's the thing: the best Lakers plays aren't value. We're talking about Reeves, Russell, AD. So when
Mhm.
you're talking about value, we're talking about Cam Reddish, who I do not like at all. I will say that flat out. Rui, who I like, but he's kind of pushing 6K on both sites now. Like Rui's someone I'll definitely get to. And then Prince is kind of boomer bust. I definitely prefer the New Orleans and Heat value over him. So yeah, I mean, generally speaking, yes. I will say probably mixing some Rui into that group, maybe a little bit of Prince. I mentioned Jackson Hayes earlier, but he's center only on DK, which makes him pretty annoying. And he's very, very risky. So yeah, to answer that question, it's yes, as things
Yeah.
stand.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a little first look build here. Just want to echo this again. I mean, we've been saying every single video, but the first look build one will change before lineup lock, regardless. But more so right now during this point in the season, where we're just there's so much random news that will break before and after lineup lock for that matter. So it will be changed. Like Metu was a seemingly good play at this time yesterday. By the time his game was about to start, wasn't a good play. So that stuff's going to happen. I just want to call that out. So starting lineup wise, this is kind of like the decision of the whole slate. It feels like, do we want to go Luka? Do we want to go AD? Do we want to go with the Lakers value? The Lakers guards, I should say. That to me is like the difference maker on tonight's slate. Maybe Zion. Like, I don't know, where are you at? Where is your like you feel the best that they're going to return value at their price
Yeah,
point?
I mean, I think the logical way to go is to play AD. And then Russell's probably second in for me. He's just been really good with LeBron out. I like the matchup for him here as well. So, um,
I'm
yeah,
fine with that.
I'd say we go AD Russell, and then if you wanted to add Reeves, you could, but those two are a priority for me right now.
So I will say we didn't really touch on this. Like, it is kind of weird if we go 3 Lakers players and don't play a single Bucks player, just because
Yeah,
the Bucks aren't they projected to win tonight? Yeah, by 10 points. So it is kind of weird to not play a Bucks player. I know like the field's doing that and like they
I mean
should be able to hit value.
Middleton would be my preferred run back.
Yeah, I feel like we almost have to if we're playing 3 Lakers. So
I
and
like
we're
that.
hoping for 40 points out of Middleton, which at that price tag's fine. Um, so we got the top 4 positions filled out. We have a center position available. We don't have to play a center. We could just play Anthony Davis there, but we could go Gafford, who's still cheap. Bam, pay up.
How much are
What
we
do you do?
left per player?
We have 4.7 on average. So I don't know. Do you want to put Hakas in there first, like, and just
Yeah,
see
let's
what
go
happens?
Hawkes under the assumption he's in.
Mhm.
Um,
Like, we could just put Hakas at the power forward and put AD at the center for now.
yeah, that makes sense. And then I'm fine going to Mills and or Alvarado for value.
Yeah, let's. Which one's higher owned right now? It's
I think they're close. Last I checked, Mills is 25%. Alvarado's 22. We have Alvarado as the slightly better OF index play. Mills the better value play. I mean, they're very neutral in the data.
yeah. We'll go Mills, just a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, that's fair.
Then we have 5.2 left over on average, so that makes it a little bit easier. Like, do we want to try to get to Terry Rozier and just see where we're at pricing wise?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe Najee Marshall. No,
Is he there?
he's more than that.
Okay. Yeah, we probably can't go Rozier in this build. Um,
Yeah, I
let's
mean, we'd
see.
have to go to someone like
Clay as a
Jovic.
GPP play.
Clay, I
Well,
like.
we go Jovic though too. He's cheap.
Yeah, any of these guys we're saying, I think makes some sense.
Let's see, and then 6.3 Green,
Gafford
Gafford
or
or Green.
Green.
Yeah,
Yeah, both of them.
I like that. That's pretty good for a first look build without having the Miami news yet. Like, what the heck? I don't get that. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's annoying. And it's really weird that Luca was added to the injury report. Any other matchup, I'd be like, oh, he's probably out. But again, this game means a lot to Dallas tonight. I'd be kind of surprised if he's out.
Yeah. And all the news that I just saw that we got is for Wednesday, which is also just annoying. But I think that's gonna do it. We got what about Dinwiddie as a question? It's fine, GPP play.
Yeah, risky but fine. Again, he's been involved. I think he gets good run here, but yeah, he's okay. I just wouldn't look at that 40 last game and expect anything close to that.
Yeah.
D'Lo was out for that one.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's video, guys. Make sure to jump on in the Discord chat. We should be getting the Miami lineup here shortly, so I'm sure that'll be discussed in there in a few moments, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any closing thoughts?
No, just as always, keep an eye on the lineup, especially this time of year. Things could change. Last night we talked about how if Lonnie didn't start, he'd be dicey. Metu as well. Kind of went different directions. Metu did okay. Lonnie not so much, but we did see Jalen Wilson slide in and have a good game. Don't be surprised if Spo does something weird here. If Luka's out, things could get weird in Dallas. I will say THJ would become very appealing, even off the bench in that scenario. Obviously, Kyrie's the play we'd be keyed in on, but even on a 4-game slate, things could change. So just make sure you got your eye on lineups here tonight.
All right, that's going to do it, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Take care, everyone.